Hello world, this is Marvelee Myers. Once the blogger from Alma Grove, I'm no longer at Alma Grove. I've been afforded the opportunity to tell my story, and I will be telling it in my words, not the words of others who have condemned me to a life of torture. As I wrote in my letter to my former employers, I'm depressed and dying slowly of torture. I am not dead yet, and once I'm alive, I'll keep the fight for justice going on. Today I'm here to tell the story. I'll start in 2000 because that was when I was rescued from domestic violence. And if I was not careful, I would not be here telling this other story. So my story began when I was living in Lambeth. I got married at the Brixton Register office. I had to run to the police station from my home in Robsart Street for rescue. If my sister-in-law who came home from work, the time she did was not present, I would not be here telling this story. So I came to the United Kingdom in 1992. I got married at the Brixton Register office in October 1992, and from then on it was a life of trauma. I experienced the traumas from my childhood coming back to my adulthood because my husband was a psychopath. He used to abuse me verbally, mentally, but once he put his hand on me in summer of 2000, I defended myself with what I had then, teeth. I no longer have any teeth most of my teeth have gone. Anyway, it wasn't all bad. I had my husband's family as companion because it was his son Bradley who actually rescued me, came to get me at the police station, took me to his home, and then when I put myself on the register and I was afforded accommodation working with Southwark Women's Aid. In 2000, when I moved to Alma Grove, I thought there was no... When I came to this country, I was told that Bermondsey was a racist area. When I moved to live in Alma Grove, I did not recognize the racism that was going on. Maybe I am not naive, and I was naive and I'm still naive. So I moved there in December. I did not even have a bed when I moved into that place. I had to start out sleeping from the floor. Then I was taken on by one of the residents of Alma Grove, Esther Oliver. And she took me on like a big sister, treated me well, helped me to get the furniture that I have in the house, some of which I had to leave. So my life was not a story tale because it's from back home I experienced trauma, the trauma of disabilities and poverty. My father had Parkinson's, and I think maybe I am developing Parkinson's now because my whole body is shaking. Once I sorted myself out and settled in Alma Grove, I was introduced to my former husband who lived to be 101 years old. And from I moved in, I was warned by Tess what I was to expect, but I guess I had the web over my eyes. I couldn't accept it. Things went from there. My husband came, he started the gardening. He was a painter decorator, so every year he decorated that place. Now, as time went on, I learned to live with people because I grew up with 7 brothers, 5 of whom were older and 2 were younger. I was the only girl in a male-dominated family, and I was treated as such. In Jamaica, you are the girl, you have to do everything. And I learned to do everything. So that's why I was able to lend some of what I knew from home about planting stuff to this country. I would say all this angst started when the neighbor her former partner would smash up the place. They would have people ringing my bell daily, night and day. The parties, it never stopped. But Tess had warned me, so I was on my P&Q. How I work my things out is I write everything down. And if I say it in words and they don't understand it in words, I write everything down. So whatever is happening to me now, it is listed on the Housing for Women. At one stage, they removed me from their profile, so I was no longer able to do certain things. They wiped me out. In 2019, I wrote, April 2019, I wrote to the Housing Association cataloging the abuse that we were experiencing at Alma Grove. In 2014, I met the Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin at the annual AGM meeting at Westminster. She was guest speaker. During her speech, she talked about her family. She was going home to interview her mother to do her autobiography. During the break, she is a very chatty, friendly person. During the break, she asked me, "Where are you from?" I said to her, "I'm from Townhead." She said to me, her grandmother is from Burn Savannah. And then we got to talking. And by listening to what she had said before, I realized that we were related. I'm not a person who is hung up on who I'm related to. We were raised that way. But throughout the conversation now, I realized that the Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin grandmother, was related to my mother. I was taken under shelter by Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin's auntie, Eula Desport, who lived in England before she went back to Jamaica and was friendly with one of my husband's friend, Jakey Crooks. As time went on, I settled well in Alma Grove, had friends there. My husband came, he done the gardening, he done gardening for me, he done gardening for others, and there was what happened. So coming up to now, why I'm telling this story. It started out, as I catalogued in the letter of the 19th of 11th, it started out with the noisy antisocial behavior. They used to do a rapid business from under the cellar, and then things would be stacked up on the stairs coming down. I made sure I put those in the letter. Things came to a head in 2018 when the garden was destroyed because my husband built up a back garden and a front garden. So the garden was destroyed and things just continue getting worse and worse from there. On the 21st of December 2021, I was woken up by loud banging on the door. When I said to my husband, "I'm going to go to the window to see who is there," he was so scared. By this time he said, "No, I should not go. I should wait around and call the police." I called the police. The emergency people heard the banging on the door and sent somebody out quickly as possible. As soon as the person came, I didn't know who it was at the door. If I knew it was my neighbor, I would have gone and let her in because I know she's a junkie. I understand she also went to prison for drink driving. That's hearsay, I don't know for a fact. Anyway, when the police knocked on my door, I opened my door and he said to me it was malicious. It was malicious. I said, "What do you mean it was malicious?" She said the person who was at the door told her that I had locked her out. So that's why I was malicious. I said to the police officer, "You have heard her side of the story. Why don't you listen to my side of the story?" Immediately he said, "I'm shouting. And if I'm shouting, he's going to leave." Well, he did eventually leave. Before he left, I went outside to say to Debbie, "Debbie, if I had known that it was you who was there, I would have come and opened the door." And she threatened me. Obviously, she was drunk. And that is the state of her mind. Because they break into my place and they take drinks and drink it and leave the open bottle there. That was the 21st of December 2021. In 2022, matters now start arising where I'm being abused verbally and threats handed down. Things came to a head now. Major events, I'm trying to put it concisely together. On Christmas Eve 2022, I had to barricade myself in my house from my neighbor because I came outside and saw her and said hello to her and that was a reason for her to target me. My brother was on the phone with me for over an hour. I later asked my brother to do a statement about that. He refuses. Anyway, during the hour that I had to wait for the police to come, I remember a person came by the name of Nathan. He was of Jamaican descent, and he said the Safer Neighborhood team would contact me. All those are catalogued. Yes, 2022, 2023, I go into 2023. On the 26th of January is my mother's birthday. I celebrated everybody, dead or alive. I was the one on Facebook writing all these stories. So whilst I was celebrating, I'm dressed up in my national costume as per usual. While I was celebrating, the police came. And when the police came, they accused me of antisocial behavior against my neighbor. Don't know where they get it from, but that's how I am treated. If I was threatened, if I did not turn up at court, Croydon Magistrates Court on the 27th, I would be arrested. I went to court. I had to go to court 3 times, and nothing came of it. So yes, the stories are catalogued, and I'm so grateful that I'm getting the chance to tell my story, because where I'm at, I'm not at a very nice place, but I have to push myself together and make sure I am okay. What the people out there who have done these things to me is not doing well by me. Okay, that was my mother's birthday and the impact on my husband and me. On the 12th of January 23 now, the Safer Neighborhood team, Samantha Gibbs, turned up at my door, and in the end I had to call the police. Another police matter. They're not dealing with my matter. Yes? So this thing continues now. I was invited to antisocial behavior meeting by post, and when I called up the person who sent the letter to discuss the matter, she said it wasn't the time that it was. And then I had to now go, did I do? 2022. I write an official letter of complaint. I also contacted the housing ombudsman. Right now I am on the resident panel for the housing ombudsman, and this thing continues. Just continue and continue. In 2023, I remember exactly the date. It was the day I was going to the solicitors with my husband to sign his will. Because of what my stepson had done, somebody had advised me to go do a power of attorney so that we are covered. And I was going to see the solicitors on the 17th of July 2023, when I actually did open the letter that was sent to me, because we booked a cab because my husband was at that state where he wasn't good in traveling. I found the number that on the letter that I got, because I got a possession letter. That's it. I got a possession letter. I've never heard about these people from the solicitors or nobody. Nobody forewarned me about any antisocial behavior except when the possession letter came, and I was appalled because at that time my brother, one of my younger brother was admitted to emergency. He had emergency surgery. A blood vessel burst in his head. So he spent his 68th birthday in hospital. Another brother was dying of cancer. And then to have this thing dealing with, plus my husband was declining in health. From that letter came, I've been going to court. One solicitor will take the case, then he dropped it. I remember one of them dropped the case. I reached to court, and there was an email waiting saying that they were to take him off the file. I got another one, and a barrister, they done the same. These are black people I'm talking about. Yes? So I don't know, can you say racism? Or should it be confirmation biases? I should think it is. Looking into the Equality Act, you have ageism, which I've got. You have belief. You have disability. You have the sexism and race. But those people who are supposed to be protecting me, they are not protecting me. They are throwing me to the wolves. I will continue by saying, right now I am homeless. I'm in temporary accommodation. My health has declined because since I was taken out of my house, maybe I should say this. Throughout May, which is my birthday, I have recordings of what was happening to me. At one stage, a knife was brandished when they dug up the last plant that was left in the front garden. And I have the videos now. They are removing and saying privacy. I don't know what more to do. I'm just overwhelmed, people. Just trying to get myself back together. Okay, so they take me to court. The barrister, female barrister, I would say I was strict because she said I must admit to the charges and then she would defend me because nobody would give me time to defend myself. In the end, they stitched me up and left me to become this person who I don't identify with anymore. I was in the South London press in 2004. On balance, a happy ending. Because Barclays had taken, I was indoors waiting for a check. The check was cashed somewhere I've not been before, and they said it was me. I went to the financial ombudsman and I got compensated. But now the financial ombudsman is not working with me because talking about the times I've had problems with the bank. So it was 2004 when Barclays took my money. Then they done it again in 2021, closed my account, locked me in the bank while I was there, closed my account, and then I went over to Nationwide, and now Nationwide has 2 times. They have not helped me to get back money that was scammed by me, and now the last time now is the persons who vandalized my place has actually taken out thousands of pounds worth of ICT equipment, the TV, the radio, 4 laptops and an Apple computer, everything of any value that's connected to ICT has been removed from my house. And then when I realized that the place was vandalized and I called up to cancel my card and let them know what was what, I was told that they attempted to use the card at a shop near me. I got new cards from the bank and asked them to block the pin, which was done. Anyway, after I got the card now, and I have a crime number for the vandalization. After I got the card and I went to the bank, luckily I was accompanied by someone from the Marvelee. And that's when I realized that my checkbook was used to draw out every penny that I have. That's the last money. What has not been scammed, some family have taken, some friends have taken advantage of me. And all I have left was that savings in Nationwide. Now Nationwide said they have done their investigation and there was no fraud committed. So those 7 checks that was withdrawn after I reported the vandalization in my house, they said no, there was no fraud committed. They haven't done anything. So what they do now, they have closed my account, left me in difficulties because I am penniless. Just have the last few pounds I have in Santander to live on, and I don't know where my life is going. And every day it's another complaint. It's another complaint. If I put things on my YouTube, now I've been told that I cannot upload anything to my YouTube. I have 2 YouTube. So all those things. So eventually I'll be wiped out. Another thing I must say in terms of where I am, who I am. In 2023, when they sent me possession letter and classed me as, because I didn't get the letter to go to court, and classed me as a violent nuisance, I don't know. I was actually interviewed by Al Jazeera for the crowning of the king. My husband is a monarchist, so he believes in all those things, so I do whatever I have to do to support him. So I was interviewed by Al Jazeera, another press release. On balance, a happy ending. another press, I was in the media. I was in the media for Sky News, the cost of childcare. Anywhere you go, I am wearing this shirt because this was the shirt. These were photographs that were taken at Elim House when they were doing their Black History Month thingy, and the police came over. I was working with the law center, and I was invited to the launch of A New Med for London, and at that place I meet the Commissioner of Police, Sir Mark Rowley, and he actually signed my book. I have a recording and I have my book to prove that that is fact. As I'm saying, I've been afforded the opportunity to tell my story, and I'm making the most of it because there are still good people around. I can't let those that have been influenced make me have a bad mind against other people. I must admit, I have not done some things correctly, and I'm here ready to be corrected. But if anybody was to go through the pressure I've been through the past 11 years, from the time I wrote to the senior HR at London Early Years Foundation, Dillis Ipton, I am depressed and dying slowly of torture. I was the one who started all this malarkey on social media. I had Facebook. I actually had 18 Facebook pages where I used to write because they take the job away from me. I was now a carer for my husband, and we make the most of it. Sometimes it was my husband who was caring for me. He was that strong. He was that healthy. He didn't have any of the impairments. Like intellectually, I think my husband was even there more than me. He lived to be 101 years old, and he died of a broken heart, the way they were treating me. He must be turning over in his grave now. And that's why I live for people, friends, whoever they are, they need helping hand, I will offer. That's why I'm reaching out now for support from the wider community, because I've done a lot of things and I've been featured in newspaper. 2018, I was page 1 of ITV News for Windrush 70. I attended 2018, I attended the Guardian News, Is Modern Slavery Thriving in the UK? And I wrote an article. They did not use it, but I submitted it to them. Where else have I been in? Apart from being in the South London Press, Sky News. I've attended functions with government ministers on behalf of my workplace. Another big thing that I accomplished, and thanks to the people I meet at Elim House, I actually was introduced to the border crossings people. And when I listened to them talking about the impact of the Lambeth and the Windrush generation, I actually wrote a song. So I'm composer for a song called Brixton Market. I am getting winded and winded and winded, but just the world to know that I'm not in a safe place where my mind is concerned. They have taken me throughout May. I have the recordings there to prove my argument. But on the 24th of May, I actually volunteered for Cancer Research UK. Because how I started doing Cancer Research UK was after the death of my brother, Walford Byron Alberni Nemhard, because he was struck down with cancer. Within 3 or 6 month diagnosis, he was gone. After that, I had been working at Mopata House Day Nursery, workplace nursery for the NHS. And throughout my time there, I went through some crisis upon crisis, because after my brother died, I ended up having a nervous breakdown. It was whilst I was working at Mopata House King's Nursery that I actually enrolled for the Open University. So I have a foundation degree in early years from the Open University. And that's where I done my health and social care level 2 that empowered me to be aware of certain things, especially around special educational needs and disabilities children. And I've gone on, I've been working with as an informal carer from the time my brother was born, and I'm only 7 years older than my brother. So those who grew up in the West Indies would know that to be an only girl in a family is not always as nice as it should be, because that girl will have to do the housework, do the cooking, do the washing, do everything. Take my brother to the clinic. Then again, there was the extended family, so I helped to care for my nieces and my nephews. And it wasn't a very nice situation in terms of growing up with a father who was stricken with Parkinson's from his early 50s and went on to live another 10 years with his Parkinson's. When I said to people that I have atypical Parkinsonism, because everybody said, no, I don't have Parkinson's. But I done my research, and it came out is it's atypical Parkinsonism. So you get the same signs and symptoms of the person with Parkinson's, only they said it is hard to treat and it is even harder to diagnose. I'm trying to use my head around the situation. So yes, I was doing cleaning. And when I was in the hospital and I saw that lady doing the cleaning, she's such a lovely lady. And I just reflected on my life as a cleaner. So I work at some of the biggest companies you can think of. Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, MAF. I work at Diageo, one of the big giants, and I work at the BBC. Well, for me, I need consistency, continuity, and familiarity in my life. So contractors, once the contractors lose their contract, you have to be searching elsewhere. So when I was working at the BBC in White City doing cleaning, I actually saw the workplace nursery within the environment. I stood and I watched what was happening, and then realization came to me. I said, but wait, this is exactly what I was doing when I was in Jamaica. I was a basic school teacher, so you nurture the children, the younger children, for their transition into the primary school system. I also done youth service at the primary school, and I was a member of the Parent Teachers Association, so that's how it is. So when I was working at BBC now, and they lost the contract, I decided, you know what, I need that familiarity, consistency, and continuity in my life. So I applied, after seeing the workplace nursery, I applied to go to college. So when I applied to go to college now, you have to go and do a little test. That day my hand did not shake, so I could I wrote a composition about Jamaica. And when at the interview now, they said to me that the module that I had chosen to do was too low for me, so I should up it, and that's what I did. I went to Lambeth College. I was one of the oldest member of the student body. Because of my understanding when the tutor teach, I was the one who actually was able to translate for my peers to understand it. I was recommended to use my assignments for my first book by some of the tutors, and they all said to me I should go to university. Only I could not go to university in the state I was. I was with my first husband, and he wasn't the very nicest of person. It was the emotional abuse that he used. He never one day hit me, never did. Until the one and only time he actually put his hand on me, I decided to leave. So after I was hunted out of Lambeth College, William Wilberforce Day Nursery, Lambeth Walk. And from there, I spent the time I was room leader for the baby room. And then I was thinking of moving on because I needed something better to progress my career. So I was actually working in North London, in Croydon, near Croydon, when I actually saw the advert for the nursery nurse place at Mapata House Day Nursery. I asked my husband to go and collect the form, fill the form up, applied, got through, and was called. So I was one of the first member of the new team for the Mapata House Day Nursery. I don't have them anymore because they have taken everything I've got. But I got letters of reference letters from most of the parents at Mapota House. I got letters from Leaf. Yes. So that's my story in a nutshell. We're starting at the bottom as a cleaner and rising up the ladder. Another story that I need to put in place. I started at Westminster Children's Society, now London Early Years Foundation, with a foundation degree in early years. There was a job going to lead early years practitioner. I applied for the post. I was the only one shortlisted from the company, and I never got that job. These are the challenges that I face. I am doing the work, the bulk of the work, but because I have a disability that cannot be seen, because not all disabilities can be seen. Yes, I get treated the way I'm treated. I'm always the one in the background doing the hard work, and then somebody else come and take the benefit. I've been in situation now where I just said to myself, I need to give myself a break away from social media and everything, and get my life back together. So today, as I'm sat here trying to tell my story, I should say some more about my father's journey with Parkinson, because as an only girl, I think my father treated me fairly, because at the age of 12 years old, I passed Bible knowledge with credit, and that's why I mentioned the Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin. If I did not have a disability, maybe I would be in similar situation to her, whether in religion, whether through education, I don't know. My father was a stickler Christian. My father beat me one time, once and only once, and I think that's why I ended up being the way I am. I have angst with my father's God because I am always thinking. My father was such a Christian person. He lived his life to the book, the Bible, this Bible. Yes, he beat me one time for swearing, and after that, I used to, in my head, I used to cuss out my father God because I couldn't understand. I still can't understand how my father God could let my father suffer with Parkinson's, my father's brother suffer with Parkinson's, and I know I have the strain, a typical Parkinsonism, because certain time now when this stress and strain come down on me, my body is actually shaking. Sometimes I can't even write my name if my life depended on it. A little bit on my mother. My mother was a strong woman. She lost part of her tongue barking a coconut, and I think that traumatized her to some extent. The fact that my mother got the opportunity to go with her auntie to teach, for her auntie to teach her to do posh baking, and she didn't get that chance. My mother was traumatized throughout her life, but my mother did not let anything stop her from being the person who she was. My mother eventually became our mother and our father, because Mom had to go out there, work, chop cane like a man, take over from my father, planting the ground provision. And then not only that, she had to take care of my father, she had to take care of my grandmother, that's her mother, and she had to go out and do the work. I, on the other hand, I got pregnant early. I got pregnant before I finished secondary school. So I was 16 years old when I got pregnant, and I had my baby when I was 17 years old. My son had delayed speech and the talking was there, because I had actually taken my son to see the specialist. They were the Cubans at the time, and he was misdiagnosed as being deaf and dumb. But my father did say to me not to worry, it was something in the family. Now my son has a child who is having the same thing as him. The little I know, I think maybe he's on the autism spectrum, because I haven't spoken to them lately, so I don't know what is going on with him, if they have taken him to get assessed or what. My mother was a strong woman in that, and my book is dedicated to her, in that she had to bear the burden. And I remember when I heard my mother's story, so I didn't know my mother's story, and I must admit that I did resent my mother. But afterwards now I'm thinking and I'm looking at everything and I'm saying, I shouldn't have resented my mother, because I didn't know what her journey was. Once I heard my mom's story, I wrote a eulogy that got my mother the recognition in Townhead Baptist Church that she didn't get in life. What she didn't get in life, she got it in death. I didn't believe I belonged to the Townhead Baptist Church. I went there, and as soon as I was able to stop going, I go there. Because for me, I was not in line with the other, I call the taponaris. I was getting hand-me-down clothes. And my granny used to plait my hair down in my face because she didn't want to plait my brain down. A little bit on my grandmothers. My father's mother had 16 children with my grandfather, and grandfather had another 5. Of those 16 children, 3 were born on the 27th of October, including my father, sorry. They have all died out now. My grandmother lived 10 years after my father. She buried quite a few of her children. The only photograph I have of my grandmother is one where she was stood by her son's side, that's my uncle with Parkinson's, and he was sat in the chair hooked up at his wedding. A little bit on my other granny now. We call both grandmother Gang Gang. So Gang Gang originate out of St. Elizabeth. So my father take Gang Gang from St. Elizabeth to Westmoreland. So that's how I have 2 grandmother called Gang Gang. Gang Gang number 2 was actually Elsie Adina Chambers. Elsie Adina. She died of a broken heart because they murdered her son. And I remember the time when they brought my uncle home from Bernard Lodge Sugar Estate. He got murdered for his job, people. He was a member of the cooperative that Mr. Horace Levy, see, when I say things good, Mr. Horace Levy actually introduced the co-op to Jamaica. My brother worked with him in Westmoreland. So once I'm talking, the story will come back. But my granny was the one who have all these sayings. Chicken I got big, you see it from him foot. One that I will never forget is, me catch up on eyelash, if them blink, me drop off. So all those things, I started setting up the place, say I was going to do some storytelling and introduce patois as well. But see now, I'm not at a good place. So I'm just telling my story and hope with some amount of help, I will be able to get somebody to understand. Whilst I'm homeless, I'm penniless, and maybe I should say this bit. Okay, so on the 2nd of June this year, after asking, and the police are involved, for my neighbor to stop doing what she was doing to me, I had to defend myself. The police came, and the police did not listen to me. So what they did was handcuff me, take me out again in just a shorts and a top. They carried the sandals, but I refused to put it on, but I still have it. I was taken to the Walworth police station. All I got out of my house was the key and my phone. Everything else was left inside. Taken to the Walworth police station, handcuffed of course, whilst everybody was there rejoicing and saying their piece. I was assessed. I was thrown into the cell as usual. Several times I've been in the cell. If I count on this hand, it would be more. The amount of time I am put in cell for nothing that I have done, that somebody has done to me. I was assessed. I was taken to King's College, and then I was transferred to the Maudsley. Nobody told me why I was there, so of course I'm going to rebel. So what I did, when they gave me medication, I did not take the medication because nobody told me what it was for. So long run and short of it, I was sectioned. I was sectioned under Section 2. Once they decided that they realized I wasn't taking the medication, and there was threat of giving it to me forcibly, because of my fear of injection and all those sort of things, I decided, you know what, let me take the medication. It's not going to harm me. So I took the medication. I was sectioned. I appealed the section. They did not approve the appeal, and they put it up to Section 3. So now I'm working with them. But I don't let them put anything down my throat that don't belong down there. So after that now, they carried on giving me the medication, doing the assessment. Then they said I'm no longer on section. The long and short of it now, they wanted to send me out. But because of what was happening with my state, homelessness state, they cannot put me out until they find temporary accommodation. It was last Friday I was eventually given somewhere to stay. And then I had to go pick up the keys and visit. And they wanted now for me to be discharged on that same day, that Friday, when I'm just... For me, it is important that if I'm going somewhere, I familiarize myself, because I can walk through that front door and don't know how to get in through the back or whatever. That's part of my dyslexia, people. I've never passed a maths exam in my life. And when I done this dyslexia training, I realized that I have 5 traits. So if I'm going somewhere, I have to pencil out how I get there by bus, how I get there by train, anything. And I always try to be early, not late. So yes, I decided, I said, no, there's no way I'm going to accept that I'm going to be leaving this place. I have things in the hospital that I need to get sorted. So the person said, oh yeah, he advocated on my behalf. So Monday I am now in New Cross, where, what can I say, what can I do? If I never accepted that place, I would have no chance. So yes, as well as being homeless, I did develop an eating disorder, but I had started eating again after I went to the hospital. Now it's back again, so I'm battling a lot of things. I think I have the Parkinson's. They said they're not assessing me because they do whatever they do and there is no Parkinson's. But I live with my father with his Parkinson's, and I know what Parkinson's can do to a person. As I'm talking now, because they came and they took me out without my denture, I have no teeth at the bottom, only these at the front, and it's very hard for me to chew food, so maybe that makes my eating disorder even harder to manage. So, in a nutshell, I hope I've covered enough. So what more can I say? Thanks to all the people who have been supporting me. The number is diminishing, but I am very grateful for the opportunity to at least put across a side of my story, because other people have come and taken recordings and then they refuse to hand it over. So as I'm sat here, just to let you know, my name is Marvelee Myers. I'm out there in the wider space. I've done lots of things, some of it that should not have been done, but I never got the support that I was supposed to get, and that is why I'm here, where I am today. So over and out, Marvelee Myers.